Hello, good afternoon again, Numi Nation. So here we are again at the end of the day, another day of New Minds TV. It's my job and my responsibility at the end of each day to just kind of do a final touch base. It's intended for parents, of course. It's all appropriate if there are kids with you as well. It's just a way of kind of like rounding out the day, putting an exclamation point on it, making any announcements and things like that. So day two of New Minds TV was fabulous in most ways, although at the same time there were a couple of challenges, in particular technical challenges. Um, the technology has proven to be um, under a lot of pressure in general. And so I was reading a New York Times article this morning actually about how, the corona situation has, obviously sent us all home, forced a lot of remote work, a lot of online collaborations, a lot of GoTo and Zoom and WebEx meetings. And that's put a lot of strain on the bandwidth of traffic. And so one of the structural challenges we're facing right now is, how to do all this online stuff, how to adapt to this online world and not overstrain the system. So a couple of the sessions today encounter some technical difficulties we think related to bandwidth. So it's something we're constantly working through, and we'll improve day by day. A growth mindset is just kind of like built into the New Minds culture. So this is all par for the course. It doesn't scare us at all. We'll just adapt as needed. Towards the end of the day, things seem to get very smooth. The last couple of sessions, I had zero glitches in the 4 o'clock session that I ran. So we'll be at it again tomorrow. You know, pushing through. If we have to adjust platforms, adjust methodologies, that's what we'll do. That's what it's all about. I heard Mr. Dorian in his session talking about the engineering mindset and the need to kind of embrace failure as opportunity. It's built into the process. That's the feedback loop. And so that's where we are. Mr. Justin and I were joking this morning that we're kind of building the airplane as we take off, right? It's kind of what it's going. The world put us in this situation, and that's what we're doing. We're adapting, and I'd say quite successfully so far. So it's really exciting. Okay, so I didn't mean to start like a trend or a thing yesterday when I grabbed the Dao De Jing and randomly opened to a page. But I think I did kind of start a thing because I did it today again, and to kind of prove to myself and to you that it's not just about like these perennial classic works of, deep philosophy that can be really, there's lots of books out there. Yeah, Adam just chimed in. He says he doesn't know anything about technical difficulties. Unfortunately, Adam's session was hit the hardest today with technical difficulties. The great news is the entire session was recorded and it's epic. The bad news is because it was so glitchy while he was live, he thought he had no participants or just a couple. So he was missing the love live on the session. But we know that because we're creating this archive where all these will be accessible, we know that many people are going to benefit from that session today that Adam ran. So it's all good. So what I did today was, and I swear, not prepared, like not curated. I wanted to change the flavor a little bit today. So I went and grabbed, this is a book that I got as a gift, or maybe from a book fair when I was a classroom teacher, like so many years ago, right? I've always been a fan of Mr. Rogers, right? I mean, the guy was a living saint, and a couple of weeks ago, I saw the Mr. Rogers biopic with Tom Hanks for the first time, and fantastic. If you haven't seen it, very family friendly. I highly recommend it. Inspirational. But anyhow, I had this one on the bookshelf, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to try the intuitive page turn trick with Mr. Rogers and see what I get. Okay, so keep this in mind. Keep this in mind in light of what I just told you about our technical challenges today. Okay, so the way this book is organized is like little quips and excerpts, like little words of wisdom that are pulled from something that he said at some point. So Mr. Rogers says, I enjoy working on our program, but of course, as with any kind of work, we have some frustrating times. Often, those are when we have problems with the equipment, when we're taping in the studio. Sounds really familiar, and it's a little bit dated, right? Because he says taping in the studio. It can also be frustrating when I'm trying to write something and can't seem to get an idea that feels right. Sometimes, when I'm working on a script or composing a song, writing flows easily, but there are lots of times it doesn't. It's probably true that all writers have frustrating and discouraging moments. Sometimes it helps me to get away from the work by taking a walk, sitting in a quiet room, listening to music, talking with a friend. Sometimes I just go over to the piano and play out my feelings through music. That kind of break seems to nourish me, and I can come back renewed. Okay, beautiful stuff, right? Sometimes the wisest masters out there use the most simple words and sentences. And Mr. Rogers is an example of that. So, two things there, right? He acknowledged that the world of things doesn't always cooperate. In this case, he was talking about his studio equipment. In our case today, it was also our equipment, our technical equipment. We were facing challenges, but that doesn't detract from the message. Number two, and I think this is just as relevant, the second half of this, he was talking about how he deals with that frustration. And I was thinking about this. Normally our normal lives are kind of so busy and prescribed and scripted that we don't often have to sit with that frustration for very long because we're swept along to the next engagement, the next meeting, the next task. But we're all kind of in the situation where we're kind of here sitting in it. We have to kind of face it or else. And so what are some, this goes back, it's a theme that's coming up. It goes all the way back to Miss Kristen's talk yesterday morning, about just kind of confronting your feelings honestly. And so I think this ties in perfectly when we have those moments of frustration. Here's Mr. Rogers' advice. Take a breath, distract yourself, do something that you enjoy, talk it out with a kind friend, with a kind ear, and then come back fresh. And so we're in a situation now where we can't run from those frustrations. We can't necessarily hide them. We're here kind of like enclosed with our families. So I like that. I like taking Mr. Rogers' advice and seeing it as an opportunity to kind of like settle in with that. I think it's beautiful. And I love how, of all the wisdom that Mr. Rogers distills, one of them is, this theme that it's okay to be imperfect. I mean, that was his big message to kids of all ages, was that you're beautiful exactly how you are. And so that, I think, is very important to acknowledge right now. Sort of this Mr. Rogers level wisdom that just wherever you're at, wherever you are, however you're feeling, people are having so many different reactions to the situation right now. Some say it's super overblown. Some are in hyper panic mode. Some have high anxiety. Some are just annoyed that their financial prospects are in danger, things like that. So no matter where you are in that, like, it's okay. Like, there's a reason why you're reacting the way you are, and to just kind of like take it for what it is and deal with that frustration. Do what you got to do to come to a good place, and then come back to it fresh. I think that's beautiful. That's what we're doing as New Minds right now, as we kind of like I said earlier, build this plane as we're flying. We just have to, keep tweaking and adjusting. So what I'm inspired to do really is, considering the situation, a couple months ago, we developed a workshop in New Minds called The Beauty of Imperfect. And it's all about, applying different tools and methods. In fact, there's 4 specific tools that we talk about in that particular course. And it was done live at the Microsoft store in Frisco, Texas, but we also recorded it. It's pretty good quality recording. It comes with a workbook to kind of walk you through the 4 tools. We would like to offer that to the public, to the world, for free at this moment. Don't worry, if you are tuning in here and you paid for it, we're going to credit your account to put towards any future New Minds workshop. But it's just just like we're, infusing the world with this real inspired learning for kids right now, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 and beyond, because the links are there. We want to also put that out there. We know that a lot of people have more time on their hands for this kind of introspection and study than they normally would. And we want this to be an opportunity for them to get a piece of, a tool in front of them, like the webinar, that might just help them, develop and get through this moment with a little bit more grace and compassion. So the Beauty of Imperfect webinar, we're going to make available for free, but we do need to know if you're interested. So what we're going to do is, I surprised my ops team. Miss Kristen didn't know until about 5 minutes ago that I was going to offer this. So she's probably scrambling right now behind the scenes. What we're going to do is she's going to put a link to the sign up right here in the comments, along with a code for you to go ahead and sign up for free. Okay, so don't worry, I'm gonna keep talking a little bit to give her a chance to get that up there. Like I said, it comes with a workbook. You'll have the workbook with you as you watch the webinar, and 4 very valuable tools that I think are going to really be a fantastic little booster for you during this time, and this time you have to contemplate and grow. Okay, so all right, we'll pause that for a minute and just talk a little bit more about the programming. Okay, today we had such another fantastic day, despite the technical stuff that didn't get in the way of the actual content itself. And we're 2 days in now, so we have some, kind of like some rhythm starting to develop and some themes. And so we had another amazing session this morning with Miss Kristen talking to the parents. Today it was about finding your why, and that I'm huge about that, right? Simon Sinek, read the entire book. Numinds we have built our own golden circle, which is your why, your how, and your what. So that's a theme very close to our heart, and I'm glad that Miss Kristen had a chance to get that out there. She had a lot of engagement in that session. It was fantastic, and we had teachers and parents chiming in from Plano, Texas, to Lebanon, to Dubai, and beyond. That was beautiful. Okay. Then we had Mr. Dorian opens the kids sessions in the morning. And actually, there's another track that we started today over on YouTube, which I'll talk about in a second. But we had Mr. Dorian coming in for the younger kiddos doing a STEAM lesson. We had him coming back in the afternoon doing a STEAM lesson for the older kids. I was able to watch most of the afternoon session. They were doing some engineering with paper, right? I told you yesterday, STEAM is not about $1 million science labs and engineering stuff. You can do STEAM anywhere with anything because it's about thinking and problem solving, right? So we had Mr. Dorian doing that. Mr. Adam, despite his technical difficulties, delivered a very phenomenal lesson where the kids designed maps and kind of continued the theme from yesterday of like this world creation. At the same time, learning the basics of role play with the opportunity to kind of jump into what they have going on the weekends, which is an online role play, into the Dungeonverse, right? Mr. Walter around the world came in again, and this time took us to Egypt and capped off the session with a hands-on project where the kids designed their own pyramid. That was super cool. We had Miss Catalina today with another STEAM in Espanol session. And just want to emphasize again, Justin mentioned it this morning too, it's not intended only for Spanish speakers, although we do want to reach as many native Spanish speakers as possible. That's one reason we're doing it, but it's also an opportunity to take anyone and have them get exposed to Spanish in an immersive environment. You can watch Miss Catalina along on the screen. The Numinds team over here in the comments, as the session's going, tries to give a little translation help for anyone who's stuck. Again, very basic materials. Today, they may go back and watch the video if your kid likes art, because they made this fantastic kind of tessellation art project that the kids custom designed with their own shape. Super cool stuff. Let's see, who am I missing? We have Mr. Walter, Miss Catalina, Miss Kristen. I talked about Mr. Adam. Yeah, so the programming deck is fantastic. It's back again tomorrow. We committed 100%, no holds barred, through Monday through Friday. And then from there, we'll see. I think this will go on indefinitely as long as we need to serve the world in this way. So buckle up for many, many weeks, hopefully forever, of this type of programming, which will adjust according to the situation. But tomorrow, same schedule, all fresh new courses, fresh lineup of activities, topics, and talks. And there's Miss Kristen right on cue. There is a link. Of course, I said it yesterday. I kind of like whined about it yesterday. This is the last session of the day. I don't get the most viewers live, but this is going to be here for anyone who wants to come back and watch the video recording. So we've got a link to the registration. And Miss Kristen, is there a code that they can use so when they sign up, they don't have to pay a cent? Is the code coming? Oh, hold on for just a second here. But that being said, I know there's not a million people out there watching live right now, but even if you're watching this recording, we really want your feedback. So we curated the schedule and these themes based on, what we know about you so far. But the world is changing and evolving, and we're in a certain situation. You're in a situation with your kids that you haven't been in before. So, let us know really honestly what kind of programming would be super valuable for you. That's really our purpose here, is to bring value to you. So don't just take our word for it. Okay, and here's a note from Miss Kristen. You do not even need a coupon code because the price has been set to $0, gratis. Okay, perfect. So on that note, going to wrap up the day. Thank you. We're so grateful for the response so far. You're sharing with friends. You're starting watch parties. You're, tagging teachers, inviting your kids' friends. We're so grateful. I can't overstate how grateful we are for your participation and for the momentum we're just now starting to build. So thank you for a wonderful day too. And we will see you tomorrow for another fantastic full day of programming. Okay. Take care, Numi Nation.